Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is episode 485 of the Future Conflict Channel's Council on Future Conflict. My name is Scott, and I am joined by Joe and Watcher. Guys, we're talking America is back and Ukraine tapping out? Question mark. And we have a very good kind of segue there that links these two together. So I think we've got a good show today. We also got some pretty interesting things in the odds and ends. Nothing, no lack of topics to talk about. Guys, now, did you guys both watch the yeah, we've got our Lost Core 23 starts the show out right with a $10 super chat. Gooding CFC, good morning to you as well.
Gooding.
Did you
Now, good morning, Gooding.
he said Gooding, I responded back, good morning to you, you know.
Gooding is a Don thing.
Yeah,
It's a whole thing.
I know, and I don't do it, so I just kind of, I return the spirit in which it's meant.
I think you're supposed to say that gooding to those who celebrate, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever. All right, guys, did you watch the speech at all?
I will be honest, I did not. I watched clips afterward because I didn't have
Yeah.
that kind of time to invest. I was actually running a Bible study at the time.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it was on pretty late, and it was what 2 hours, I think, right at 2 hours.
Yeah, which is it's almost as if he was trying to offer a contrast, if you will, a late in the evening speech that went for 2 hours.
So,
Something other people couldn't have done. We'll just say, shall we?
Rowan Cart for $5
Just
over
put a
Rumble
big
says,
space between the two words, please.
what's that?
When you read it, just put a sufficient amount of space because it's just a 7-year-old trying to be silly. Go ahead.
Scott, how do you feel about Gabe owners? I don't get it.
Say it all together. Say Gabe Owners.
I got it. I got that part. I mean, that's the
It's just
7-year-old part.
It's just like a really ridiculous 7-year-old thing that people are doing on the internet right now, and it's really dumb.
I thought he was talking about the guy Gabe Newell who bought Valve Corporation. Because
Nope.
because people call him that online because he's
It's just good to know that at this early hour in the day that Rowan is thinking about Gabe Owners. Fantastic.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm 7.5 years old.
Well,
I hear you, brother.
I mean, I hear Gabe owners generally comes up when we talk about Djibouti.
Oh, you see, Joe, I feel like Watcher's not being respectful. Come on. All right, guys. So the speech was pretty fire, and you're right, Joe. 2 hours, big contrast to what we've seen in recent, years. I did watch the whole. Well, I watched 95% of it, and I think I missed, I like 5 minutes or something. But I actually watched it at work. We, kind of like, taking all direction from the tower. It doesn't get to be a bigger tower than the POTUS's office. So it was an interesting kind of speech to monitor for his language and how he ticks. We did get a South Korea mention in there. He talked about South Korea had a tariff 4 times that of the U.S. Yet we put a lot of money and soldiers into defending South Korea. So I thought that was interesting. That was in the whole trade tariff section. But yeah, he covered a lot of ground. And let's be honest. One of the lines that he said is like, listen, I've done more in the first however many days of my administration than many do in an entire year. He's not wrong. And now you could argue whether or not he's been successful in some of these things, but he's definitely been all over the place doing all kinds of things. So I think he has a lot of a lot to celebrate in his first month and a half or 2 months essentially that he's been in office.
Yeah, lots to grow about.
And we're going to talk about that later in that section. But Joe, how's life treating you today? I heard you got over some writer's block. You got a new.
It wasn't really writer's block. It was more of a lack of motivation. But we did put up a new article last night that has been fairly well received, reviewing the 2 courses we did in North Carolina. It was good stuff. So that was pretty cool. So check out the new article over there. You know what? Other than that, it was a quiet day. Got a lot.
I hear you had some action in Montana, some ice action.
Yeah, Immigration and Border Patrol swept into a job site in the little town of Big Fork, Montana, and arrested 17 illegals working on a construction project. So they're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's third Border Patrol raid in the area in the last 2 weeks.
Well, it's good to see that they're actually like out there doing things, in your neck of the woods, right? It's not just empty promises. When you hear about something happen in the next town over or whatever, it's yay, go team. You feel like that you're actually getting your money's worth.
I've seen some of the very clever tactics they're using on the ground to help sort out illegals from legals. It's state of the art.
No, do not play that video. We're not playing that video.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's right. You sure don't. All right, guys. Let's Watcher. How you doing, by the way? Any ice action going on in your neck of the woods?
Probably, but I'm too busy to truly worry about it.
Boy, that's noisy.
Oh, sorry. Probably some ice action going on. I'm too busy to at the moment to really worry about it. Doing good. Chickens are in the garage now, so everything's progressing nicely. What can I say? Ready to have a good show this morning, Scott.
Hey, did you guys, by the way, see that video of Kid Rock talking to Grok?
I did not.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
That sounds like a waste of my time, no matter how you cut it.
Well, then, I mean, with such an open-minded greeting, I won't bring it up anymore. But I thought maybe you guys might have seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of pointless to talk about. All right, let's jump right into the odds and ends. Something way more cheery and kind of affirming. Suicide bombing kills 9 and injures 18 in northwest Pakistan. Joe, it's like this kind of thing just gives me the heebie-jeebies because I feel like Central Asia is doing everything it can to upend itself, and even when it seems like it's quieting down after 20 years of just of death and destruction, it feels like it's trying to call us and the Russians and everybody else in the world back to it. Suicide bomber drove an explosive filled vehicle into a security installation in Banu, killing at least 9 civilians, injuring 18 others, police say. Authorities have not confirmed any security personnel were amongst the casualties. No group has claimed responsibility, but the attacks targeting police and military have increased in the region, often linked to the Pakistani Taliban or TTP. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's chief minister, Ali Amin Gandapur, has ordered an investigation into the attack. Joe, I mean, this literally is kind of like same shit, different day written all over it.
Yeah, I was going to say a bombing in the Kashmir region. Oh, it must be Wednesday.
Right, exactly right.
But that area is so rife with conflict. We talked about this the other day, that you've got India, Pakistan, and China all making moves in that same piece of territory. So it's been a hotbed of conflict for a couple thousand years, and it's not about to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, this is just one of those kind of things where I guess maybe since I've spent time in Afghanistan, it's kind of like, oh, I just kind of get I don't want to fucking deal with these people anymore. It's not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just like they're over there, we're over here. Let's just let them kind of do their thing. But they find new ways to get the rest of the world, involved. And it doesn't help that Pakistan, like India, has nuclear weapons. Pakistan, like one of my nightmare scenarios going way back is a loose Pakistani nuke ends up in a shipping container going into the port of Long Beach, and I mean, you want to talk about World War III in an instant? That's it right there.
It's the plot of the second G.I. Joe movie, by the way.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Actually, I don't even remember that movie. Which one? How is it?
It begins with them securing Pakistani nukes during a collapse of the Pakistani government.
Oh, okay. I saw it. I just don't have any memory of it. I have more memory of episodes of the cartoon when I was a kid than those movies, and that should tell you the quality of those movies, I think. Anything else on this, Watcher? You got thoughts?
Not on the last story. My brain's already on the next one, to be honest. Because if I have to be very, very honest about it, it's like Joe said, another bombing in the Kashmir region. Say it ain't so.
Yeah, how is it? It's Wednesday.
Next, you'll tell me there's riots in France.
Oh no!
They're protesting in Greece. It must be Friday.
All right, let's pull this next one up. BlackRock's purchase of Hong Kong-owned Panama ports marks victory for Trump's America First. Here's the problem. You're making the assumption that BlackRock is on the side of the angels, and they ain't. Now, that being said, is it better than a Chinese proxy? Maybe.
Well,
Joe, I could concede
when you see BlackRock, you got to replace it with the words WEF.
Yeah.
Right. So.
All right. Sorry.
And they need to remove whenever you see the word Hong Kong owned when it's related to ports, you have to
CCP
replace that with People's Liberation Army.
Yeah.
Because Hutchison Ports is not Hong Kong owned. So.
President Trump may be handed a major geopolitical victory concerning the Panama Canal. His new report indicates that its BlackRock-led consortium has agreed to purchase key ports near the canal, currently operated by Hong Kong-based conglomerate CK Hutchison Holdings. The report follows Trump's repeated warnings about China's growing influence over the strategic waterways and comes 1 month after the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio criticized the Panamanian government for allowing Beijing to expand its influence in the region. The agreement was reached alongside a deal in principle for BlackRock and its Global Infrastructure Partners unit, along with Mediterranean Shipping Company's Ports Division, to acquire units that hold 80% of the Hutchison Port Groups, which operates 43 ports in 23 countries. That's actually different and interesting together, Joe. And it's actually a little more ominous, if you will. So this isn't like a BlackRock went in to buy the Panamanian ports. What it says here is to acquire units that hold 80% of Hutchison Ports Group, which operates 43 ports in 23 countries. So this is a much farther reaching deal than just these Panamanian ports.
It's almost like they're just obfuscating who actually owns them. No, that couldn't possibly be true.
The consortium will also acquire 90% of the Panama Ports Company, which operates the two entryways in Balboa and Cristobal. CK Hutchison said it would receive cash proceeds of about $19 billion from the broader ports deal. The deal includes the bulk of CK Hutchison's port division, which produces 20% of the conglomerate's earnings before. Joe, what if Chinese money funded the BlackRock side of this so that now China can say, "Oh, we don't own it. BlackRock owns it."
That's what I just said.
I know,
Yes.
but my point is, I'm actually saying who is pulling the levers. Where
I would almost bet that that's actually
obfuscating
the
it.
case.
Yeah, I mean, it's very likely.
The entire point of BlackRock is to obfuscate actual ownership, right?
Yeah. Watcher, you're kind of like a China guy. You like to dig into what China's doing. Give me your kind of thoughts on this.
I think it would be hilarious if Trump came forward and made a statement saying, no, I said we wanted American interests to buy the canal. American. Because this represents globalists. That's all that is. I'm shocked Hutchison Lampoa sold. I suppose it could have been one of those scenarios where they didn't have an option but to sell. But it is one of those situations where I'm kind of shocked that once they acquired it, they were willing to sell at any price.
Well, here's the interesting thing. They may, if it's China just basically buying access or buying, future interest, then you're right. Ultimately, it's not about making money. It's about, but if China is just, if China's not actually pulling the levers and it is an economic deal, then it would make sense that if they're not making their money, that they would look for opportunities to either to partner or to. Now, I don't think that's the case. I'm in the same camp where Joe is. I'm just trying to kind of present alternate kind of things, maybe this isn't as bad as we think, but ultimately I think it's as bad as we think. Let's see. So with BlackRock scooping up the prize, I mean, ultimately they are the poster child for corporate greed, right? They are the globalists, bank of choice, right? Let's see. These are the same guys who last week were doing ESG deals. Now they're our savior, and because they're buying Panamanian ports. I mean, give me a break. Joe, I know that's kind of your motivation behind some of this skepticism of BlackRock, but is there a good news side of this?
No, I think that a lot of folks are going to take this as good news. But I really don't. I don't think this actually changes much. I think that BlackRock is all about taking money from whoever wants to give it to them. I think the Chinese are going to take this 19 million they got from BlackRock and give about 18 and a half of it back in other ways. So I really don't know that. I don't know if this actually changes anything on the ground.
Well, the irony is the headline with this story is it's a win for it's a victory for Trump's America First. But I mean, let's be honest, this is like going from the frying pan into the fire with BlackRock, right? I mean, globalists don't give a damn about America First at all. They are loyal to profit on a global scale and damn everything else.
It's more indicative of that odd phenomenon we have here right now in America, where if someone we hated yesterday says or does something that agrees with Donald Trump, all of a sudden everyone forgets all of the negativity and all of the bad stuff that surrounded that person because they agreed with Daddy T, so they must be okay. And I just think that we fall a lot for that, and I'm just not sure this is such a good thing.
Yeah, if I could just say, this is like saying the headline from 1987's RoboCop, where it says, "Good news for the police of Detroit. OCP picks up the police contract as a victory for Detroit First." Right? I mean, that's
exactly right.
Oh boy! All right. By the way, this is absolutely a non sequitur, but it does have to do with RoboCop. If you didn't play the RoboCop video game that came out last year, that was a really fucking good video game. It just absolutely nailed the whole RoboCop aesthetic. All right, sorry for that tangent. Watcher, did you play that?
I didn't. I'm not
It's
gonna
like one of
lie.
those $30 Steam games. It wasn't a
Well,
multiplayer. It was just a campaign.
now that you're saying it's good, I'll have to check it out. But I'm not gonna lie. RoboCop was one of those that I like. I remember watching it with my dad when I was probably too young to really grasp what was going on, like 4 or 5-ish. And it never really made a giant impact with me. Like I appreciate it for some select scenes that are very memeable and have been used over the years, but apart from that, not much.
Well, I mean, I see. Like, I went and saw that movie as a kid, so
Well,
like I was like 12 or something, or
well,
14
and the other half of
when I
this
went and
that
saw it.
doesn't help is that my brain always blends Judge Dredd and RoboCop.
Yeah, that's no good. No bueno.
I'll blow everybody's minds here because I see Stevie J saying Omnicorp is a great cyberpunk dystopian company. Omnicorp was an analog for DynCorp. I'm just throwing that out there.
And I'm here to tell you, it's not OmniCorp. It was Omni Consumer Products.
Ah, yes, it was. It's OCP.
OCP. Yeah. All right.
Mexican Iron Man, please do not give them any ideas. Please do not.
Coming soon, new channel, Council on Future Council Gaming. Yeah. I mean, we have enough people in our
You could
orbit
call it the
where we could do
CFG, Council on Future Gaming.
You know what? That's not a terrible idea. Also, I'm just gonna say, I mean, I brought up that I wanted to start playing Cyberpunk, and literally every person here liked that post. So plus Blaine, and I'm just saying that, like, with all the writers involved, and it might be a fun time.
Yeah, no, I've actually been diving into Cyberpunk Red a little bit. I figured you might
hell yeah, brother,
be interested in that. Because it's way more connected to the Cyberpunk 2020 timeline, which is the one I know from back in the 90s. So
yeah, it feels a lot grittier. It's after the bombs went off, so everything feels post-apocalyptic.
Well, and the whole fourth corporate war happened right after 2020. So nerds,
Detroit become toaster. That's
I love it. I mean, you see that when you get my age, it's like being a nerd is like, it's okay. You don't have to hide anymore. All right, let's move on to our next topic, shall we? So, guys, I don't know if you saw this, but this is, if you're not aware that there is an info operations war going on around you for your, for your brain housing group, right? And let's be honest. If you're watching this show and you're in this chat, they're probably not targeting you because you are discerning and you actually are curating your information channels enough to where this type of thing would never affect you. But think of your kids. Think of those useful idiots out there that we all know. And let's be honest, we all love a lot of them too, right? That they are not discerning when it comes to the information that they take in. And they can be snookered by this kind of thing. So, Watcher, if you would play this video, and
yes,
so
I want to brief the audience and prepare you for the oral assault you're about to experience.
Yes.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
All right, so if you notice, so if you guys are not following Data Republican, she is this autistic deaf gal who is just absolutely, destroying people and destroying the deep state all over X. And she is her post about this is where I found this post. And I just wanted to kind of bring it a little more to light. because it's pretty important. I'm trying to pull up hers. I'm going to read from hers while we look at this because she's talking about this.
She bad. I like her.
Yeah, she is pretty bad. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like trying to find the post that she did because it's got all the analysis of this in it. But anyway, if you want to go ahead and play a little more of that video, because at some point, if I remember correctly, it starts to sync up. Like, wow, almost like they're on.
It does, but I got a brief. Like, these are kind of common. Real quick, they do a lot of these videos where they have one script writer write it, and then they have like 20 or 30 people do it. What's crazy is that in a situation this dire for them, they didn't get more than one script, so that this could be so easily called out. It's just it's amazing.
But
I imagine this is a lot easier if you're deaf.
Right. She never actually had to hear it. But if you notice, they're doing this whole kind of 20s TikTok vloggers thing with the holding the DJI microphone. So let me read her kind of analysis of this. It's like a little post thread here. So she says she was curious about the coordination. So she's using AI to help her research this. First of all, this Senate Democratic Caucus operates a Senate Democratic Media Center, which serves as a one-stop shop for Democratic offices looking for high-level digital assets, providing video editors, studios, digital strategists for coordinated content. So her AI speculated that the content was centrally developed, most likely under the direction of Senate Democratic leadership. And then the rabbit hole doesn't end there. Let's see. One specific person keeps coming back to this on Justin Goodman, the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's former communication director. And indeed, if you look at his website, his biography brags about him as a chief spokesperson for every Senate battle in recent memory. Every Senate defeat by the Democrats in recent memory is what he meant to say. In addition, Goodman's Schumer communication director and the staff of the Democratic Party and Communications Committee, or the Strategic Communications Committee in the Senate, is likely the spearhead for the effort. The DPCC or SCC is essentially the messaging and media strategy hub for the Senate Democrats. So if you're ever wondering why the Democrats are always so coordinated on this, it's because they do it all as a coordinated communications effort. Now, the people who tend to become Democrats are what? They're communists, communal. They think as a group, right? They don't have a lot of individual thought. They basically they plug themselves into the mothership and they parrot everything it says. In this case, they coordinate literally onto the same script using the same talking points. Now, why don't
Republicans change the wording just a little bit to make it personal?
Nope. Yeah, Joe, and you notice the video clips that they used in there. It's like almost at the same time, all the Antifa fightings showed up, and then you had Elon Musk with a chainsaw. So it's not even just the scripts, but it's the actual pacing of the video is almost dead on. Now, why don't the Republicans do this? I mean, I'll ask you guys, why do you think it is, guys?
Because somebody asked me why they do. Pelosi's daughter doesn't work for the Republicans. Go ahead, Washer.
Well, so somebody asked me why they do, and there's a difference here, guys. Like, Republicans will post things where they're all talking about the same thing, and quite often they'll use similar phrases because, like memes, those phrases tend to be like, "Oh, that person said what I was going to say, only better than I could have said it, much more eloquently. I'll use that." right? This is not the same thing, though. This is word for word. As a person who's had to read scripts off for radio word for word, I can tell you that the ability to read a script word for word and not pick little replacement words here or there, or just personalize things, is actually like a full-on skill that people have to be trained into. This was highly deliberate. This was, again, I'm the truly shocking thing about this is not that they did it, it's that they were so cheap they didn't hire a couple of different script writers so that they at least had a couple different versions going around, right? Because it's so easy to skewer them on this.
They don't even have to hire script writers. You could write one script and then you provide different prompt inputs and then throw it in a Chat GPT, and Chat GPT could do a better job of randomizing 50 different scripts for the Democrats than this could.
Yeah, agreed. Like there's to have done this
better
more
if they
proficiently
bowed down to the
simple.
robotic overlords. Sweet.
I mean, they already have. If you think about it.
What he's saying is to have done this in a way that didn't sound like the Borg Collective was literally as simple as tossing it into GPT.
Right.
That's all they had to do, and they couldn't even do that.
Well, and so here's the other thing, right? And the point I wanted to throw that to you guys because you both hit on some really important points. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about in relation to this is that people that have our mindset, we believe in personal responsibility. We believe in individuality. We believe in the rights of the individual and the people, right? We don't believe in elitism, centralized control, and all these kind of stuff. There's no way in hell you could get people that I just described to coordinate in a fashion anything like what you see on the left. I mean, these people are people who want to plug themselves into a hive mind and basically let some elite globalist cabal take the wheel. And
honest with you, and you're not going to like it, but using Chat GPT to write your stuff is literally plugging into the hive mind. I'm just throwing that out there.
I agree with you. And that's the reason why I don't do it.
To be clear, Joe, neither of us were saying they should have done that, or like they should have done that as in like that is the optimal way. What we're saying is if you were being lazy and you wanted to take one script and make it into 50 different versions, that's the lazy way to do it, and they could have done it, and they didn't even do that, which is just copy paste.
Yeah, I honestly don't want to give them any ideas, if to be quite honest with you. But anyway, so this I thought this was interesting. And going back to Data Republicans' analysis of it, basically, so they do all this stuff in house. However, PACs have backed communications messaging in the past. Soros is a top kind of candidate for backing of democratic messaging operations, Media Matters, some of these other kind of anti-conservative media, but also pro media coordination outlets. Senate Democrats play as a team and work in tight unison to get their messaging aligned. So who makes the decisions? Well, it's the Senate, the Democratic Strategic Communications Committee, which is an advisory board of Democratic leadership and as a research policy formulating and communications arm of the Senate Democrats. And it's chaired by Senator Cory Booker. Now, if you've got a guy like Cory Booker, who, if you ask me, is dumb as a fucking rock, running things, then I don't guess you're going to get smart outcomes, but call me crazy. Other people may have a higher opinion of him, but having heard him talk, I think he seems like a fucking idiot. That's just me. He's essentially the number 4 guy in the Senate leadership, the Senate Democratic leadership. And then, so that's where a lot of these TikTok videos come from, in this kind of coordinated central committee kind of thing. Joe, what's another country that works off of a lot of coordinated party-led central committees?
I don't know the name of the country, but I think they speak Chinese there.
I think so too. I think we call it West Taiwan. So this is that's the kind of vibes I get from this. The thing that I wanted to push is this idea of communitarian values pushing how they do the things that they do. And this is the kind of thing that your grandma or your dumb aunt, or, usually, I hate to say it, let's be honest, it's women that fall for a lot of this shit. But there are a lot of dumb guys out there too that fall for it. So look out for the kind of things that your friends and your family are consuming on social media, and just kind of make sure you're helping them see other things too. And if you want to put conservative content in front of somebody in your life that is not conservative, find things that are funny. Because humor is a good way to break down the barriers.
What's funny is I got accused of corrupting a young child in our life with my views, but he didn't get it from me. He got it from actually being he's very autistic, and he's very in-depth into history. It's his focus thing, right? You cannot study history for any serious length of time and be anything but conservative. It's just the way that it is. So.
Agreed. Well, hey, Scott, are we ready to roll the next story? Because
Watcher's just chomping at the bit because he has a good transition. So
I do.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I'm just saying, given world events that are going on, gentlemen, I do have to be reminded a little bit. Now, remind me, black smoke means that Serbia has elected a new pope. Is that right? That's right.
That's right. That's the Serbian Orthodox Church has a
And now the white one is a dispute of that, but
yeah, it's like a flag on the plate.
Your nomination, yes, that's exactly right. It's a flag.
Let me tell you the difference between the Serbian Parliament and the U.S. The U.S. Parliament would have been crawling on their knees, wearing gas masks, and crying. These guys are picking them up and chucking them back at each other. This is not their first rodeo.
Now, I think the red here means that the feminists are protesting and think that there needs to be a trans pope. I think that's what that is.
So here's what I don't know how many of you guys have been around pyro smoke before. I know I see some of you in the chat. Our good buddy Ron's been around a little bit of pyrotechnic smoke. When somebody sets pyrotechnic smoke off inside a building, turn towards the exit and quickly yet calmly walk to the exit and maybe pull the fire alarm on your way, because this is a building that's probably getting ready to catch fire.
Yeah. And if I'm reading this right, some of this is pyrotechnic smoke, some of this is CS gas.
Well, it doesn't. I don't see anybody that seems like they're acting. Yeah. See this guy right here in the front. Let's see. There's a guy that walks in the front. Let's see. He kind of just comes across here. I think that's him right there, walking past the red smoke. Yeah. See, I think he's spraying like pepper spray or something.
Yeah. That
is what I think.
Yeah, there
he's
was
doing.
pepper spray as well involved. Listen, I've picked up an EG18X earlier than I should have, and learned my lesson. It can be, those can get a little warm. You're right.
Oh yeah, 100%. What's the policy?
What's the policy dispute? Chat wants to know.
No clue. I have no idea.
It's Serbia. I mean,
it's Serbia, right? Go figure. Yeah. So that was more of a compare and contrast to the absolute dumpster fire that was the Democratic Party. They didn't. I was hoping they'd break out a little smoke, Joe, for the big speech, but they didn't. They didn't do it.
The smoke would have been.
Yeah, I really honestly thought we would see some more active disruption last night, but they did not.
Well, let me get some of these super chats first, and then we'll jump right in.
Before we do that, on the topic of pyro smoke, I could probably put my hands on one like literally within reach. So just throwing that out there.
I mean, that's that you're living your best life there, Joe, if that's the case.
Mrs. Tatuism walked in and she was like, "Why is there a grenade on the piano? Where else are you going to put them?
Where else would you put it?" Seemed like the place to put it at the time. All right. Peter says helicopter tours for $5 says Cyberpunk 2077 was a decent watcher, but severely overpromised. Story-wise, for an RPG, it was very on rails story-wise. Gameplay and talent trees are better with the Phantom Liberty expansion, 6 out of 10. So, like, I have not played Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm thinking now might be a good time to buy it because it's cheaper and you can get the expansion package at the same time. Watcher, confirm or deny? Oh, I heard the graphics are a whole lot better now and all the bugs are worked out too.
Sorry, I had an alarm going off in the other room. Yeah, it's decent. Like I like it. Here's the deal. Everybody has been very angry since it came out, saying, well, it's great if you like GTA clones. Well, here's the deal. I never played any of the GTA games, so it was a whole new experience for me, only in a setting I prefer. So I really enjoyed it, and I played on PC and never really had any of the bug issues, to be honest. Like, I'm not gonna say I never had any bugs, but none of the like immersion destroying, game breaking bugs that a lot of other people had. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's great.
I'll probably buy that maybe this summer on one of my vacations.
I'd get it on sale for sure.
All right. Derna over on YouTube for $10 says there have been protests for months using BLM tactics in Serbia, blocking roads. Supposedly it's over an awning collapse at the Novi Sad Stadium that killed people last year. Yeah, I remember that. I suspect foreign. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Serbia has been pro-Russia, and so I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't some amount of, I don't know, color revolution kind of stuff happening there.
Scott, I'm hearing that there is another $5 Rumble rant a little higher up that you missed.
Oh, did I miss it? Yeah. I did. I saw this one, but it got past me. Peter says helicopter tours for $5 says you folks familiar with Sarah Adams? What's your opinion on her tracking work outside of government? I heard her say multiple times on Sean Ryan she know who bombed the Abbey Gate. Chances she helped get him. Okay, chances she helped get him was probably zero. That being said, I think she was right on the money. I think she's
right on the money, but let's just be honest. She's not the only person in the world who knew exactly who did the Abbey Gate bombing. Yeah, she's one of the more vocal ones, but she's not the only person who knew that.
Well, and the key thing
I also think the government just lets anyone in on the targeting sessions. So.
Yeah, the key thing is she's a targeter, a CIA targeter, if I remember correctly. And she's out now. She's not doing that anymore. So she can kind of talk about some of the things that she did. Whereas people who actually were in on I guess it was it an arrest, wasn't it? They didn't kill the guy. They actually grabbed him in Pakistan, I guess. And so Pakistan helped with that, and he's being brought back for trial. So yeah. Sorry, Peter Shea. I appreciate you letting us know in the chat that when we miss things. But yeah, she's fascinating. I think she's pretty clued in on that stuff. The good news is I think there are a lot of people, a lot of good folks still in government that are working these problems to this day. So
yeah, and as far as her other stuff, if you look at guys like Max Morton and a couple others that come to mind, they're on the same page as her. They're just not as vocal as her and going on the same podcast as her.
Yeah. Well, and
that's not against Sarah Adams at all. I'm just saying that there's not just one person who knows everything in the world. So.
And she did. Her job was really specific to that kind of targeting intelligence analysis, which is very information, i.e., talking about it, whereas a lot of guys just did less talking and more doing, and while that may be sexy in its own right, it makes it harder to talk about. Peter says helicopter tours for $1. Democrats, yeah, I mean, come on, yeah, you didn't have to do that. Peter says helicopter tours for another $1. The word communist needs to always precede the word Democrats. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah, the Democratic communists. Peter Shea again for $2. You can't call these people conniving, subversive, and dumb in the same thought. Scott, treat them as evil incarnate. No. Some of them are dumb. Some of them are smart. You know, I mean, it's just that's the way of the world.
Well,
they are all evil.
I was going to say they're
Anyone
definitely
who-
all evil. I will say though that I think that a part of an ideology that discourages individual initiative and thought leads you to a mass dumbing down of everyone in the movement. Am I off the base here?
I don't think so. I mean, I think you're
No.
you're pretty right on.
I think that anyone who advocates for taking something forcibly from someone else, taxes, and giving it to someone who doesn't want to do anything for themselves is evil. So,
all right. I think I'm all caught up. Hey, Joe, you want to talk a little bit about what's going on there in Montana?
Sure. Head over to tactical-wisdom.com. Check out the new article where I review my Fieldcraft course and NC Scouts Scout course. He made a couple changes to them that are a little more drone intensive and drone resistance intensive. Yes, that was the ground in North Carolina with the snow on it. But it talks about some of the changes we both made to our curriculum that apply more to the modern battlefield. Hint, it's not buying more technology that helps you. It's learning significant light infantry skills that have not changed in hundreds of years that will protect you from all that high-tech stuff. But anyway, check it out. Take a look at it. I've got a class coming up next weekend here locally. That is the Community Security Operations class, the 14th through the 16th of March. I've got a couple classes scheduled in April, but our really big week that I want to push is May 16th to the 26th. About a 10-day period. It's a week with 2 weekends wrapped around it, where NC Scout will be here, and I believe Kay from Combat Studies will also be here. And we will come out here and he's going to teach. We're going to have the RTO course where we talk about radio skills, SIGINT course, which is the flip side of the radio skill, right? Using it to listen instead of talk. We're going to do night fighting where we spend 2 nights out using nods and thermals and engage targets and do some movement and all that good stuff. And then I'll roll into community security course again. So we've got a lot planned in that 1 week. Probably Kay throwing in a ground rod course in there somewhere, or escaping evasion, one or the other. But I highly recommend if you're picking 1 week to spend your training dollars on, that should be it. In gorgeous Big Fork, Montana. By May, we should be down to only 1 snowstorm in the week. But it'll be fun. There won't be any snow, by the way. I'm just kidding. Come on out and check it out. Look at my schedule there at tactical-wisdom.com, and also look at Matt's schedule over at brushbeater.store. Get out and train for something.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the skills are important, but the people you meet and the connections you make are even more. Joe, what do you think? You think that the connections actually might be more important than the actual skills themselves?
I'm sorry, say it again.
You think the connections you make at these things are might be more important than the skills themselves?
1,000%. There's a bunch of people in the chat who've been at classes. I know that Cubby was just at the class this time, who's in the chat today. And a lot of the guys who are in here regularly are in at the classes either as OPFOR or as students. And it's really the time you spend after class sitting around chatting and making partnerships is the best. You get more from that than you do in the actual class.
Yeah, I mean, I just, it's kind of like the military stuff, Joe. You get a lot of skills and do a lot of thing and training and whatnot, but ultimately the connections you make with people, that's so critical.
And listen, if you're ever at one of those events and I hand you an unmarked bottle, it is in your best interest to not take a sip of that bottle. When Matt took a drink of the moonshine that the good folks in Tennessee provided me, Matt said it transported him to another dimension. And then it did the same thing to Risky Krisky a few minutes later. So
The other thing that I thought was funny, Joe, is if somebody hands you a jar with a peach or something like that, or a pear, or some sort of piece of fruit, pineapple
We're looking at
floating
you,
in it.
amphibious pirate.
I was smart enough to take a sip and pass it to amphibious pirate, who then proceeded to drink the whole fucking thing.
So I was smarter than both of you because I took it and I gave it a sniff and looked like I gave it, and I passed it on to Jim. And
I know, right? I got it last, and then I had to send it on down the line. All right, guys, we had a banger of a speech last night. I'm going to go so far as to say one of the best presidential address in front of a joint session of Congress that I've ever seen. And let me be honest, it had it all.
Well, before you continue, I just have to say that I didn't know that what I needed was a presidential speech delivered as a heel speech, but I needed it. I needed it real bad.
Well, here's the thing. These speeches are usually a lot more boring than his campaign speeches, because his campaign speeches, he's playing to the crowd, he's riffing, there's a whole lot there. But ultimately, it's these kind of speeches that are like, oh, he's saying the things he has to say and blah blah blah. But let me be honest with you, this speech was a fucking banger. I give it top marks as saying it's the best one of these I've ever seen. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, it's that I think he just does a good job. He delivers a good speech. Two, he absolutely called out the feckless bullshit of the left constantly in the speech. And three, he actually has done things that he can talk about. And God damn it, it's not even been 2 months that he's been in office. Now, is he perfect? No. Are there things that I'm already whining about and complaining about? Yes. That being said, I'm very happy. It's kind of like I don't look a gift horse in the mouth when it comes to presidents, right? He's doing a good job. I hope he does better. I like, for instance, the whole Pam Bondi, Epstein stuff. I'm not happy. People need to be getting not fired, but put in jail, I think. So we still have a ways to go, but he's got a lot of time to make up ground. So there's this. I wanted to bring up this article with these 12 takeaways. America's back. 12 takeaways from Trump's first major policy speech to Congress, and I thought these are all pretty good, and I thought that we could kind of hit it. So, views on Trump's speech. This is a CBS. So it's important to say who does this. CBS News poll YouGov, right? Not a right-wing pollster. Views on Trump's speech among speech watchers: 76% approve, 23% disapprove. Now, let's be honest. How many hardcore leftists are sitting down to watch an entire 2-hour Trump speech? Not many. That being said, I thought this was a pretty positive sign. First off is tax cuts. Guys, this is going to be big, and there's rumblings that he's going to do even more, like, for instance, cut half of the IRS, workforce, relying more on tariffs and external revenue to generate revenue for the U.S. versus internal revenue. Real quick, what's your take on what you've heard thus far in the tax cuts?
It's a really great speech. We need to actually see some movement on that, and that's not something Donald Trump can do on his own. It's not my comment is not an anti-Donald Trump thing. It's a legislation thing. Yeah. You need the legislature to make that happen, and he can say what he wants, all he wants, but he has to actually make some movement. So.
Watcher, any ideas on the tax cut?
Yeah, I'm on the same side of the fence here. I don't like it when Trump promises things that he doesn't actually personally have the power to deliver, because as time has proven, many factions will take every possible opportunity to stab him in the back.
Well, let me ask you this: like something that he's kind of pushed was this bill that it got 51 votes, but it ultimately doesn't get the 60 votes needed to clear the Senate, and that was the vote to protect women in sports. That would ban men being able to compete against women in sports with the whole trans thing. So like, do you think it's valuable for him to champion that stuff and then be able to say, well, see, I mean, we did what we could, we got the 51 votes, but yet are these vile, people on the other side, defeat this? Is it important to get your opponents on the record, even if you don't win the vote? Either one of you, either or none of you. It's fine if you
Still
got
kind of
nothing to
rolling
say.
that around.
Yeah, same.
I think that it's not something that the president is in control of, so he really needs a lot of help in moving that forward.
Yeah, it's team effort, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and he needs to
Speaking of team
have
efforts,
the whips do their job and get to work, right?
speaking of team efforts and whips, Don, brother, how you doing?
Gentlemen, good morning. Pretty good, all things considered. Laura is, of course, being a superhero the moment that I step in here, which I always appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. She was Johnny on the spot with that one. Don, how this is twice in 1 week that you've been able to step in.
Right.
Did you watch the speech last night?
I did not.
Yeah.
I reviewed it via the memes, which are already amazing. So that tells me good things happened.
Yeah. Oh, by
Yeah,
the way, here's
missed
a
a good
hint.
one.
If you're on nationwide TV, never hold up a sign that could be rewritten to say whatever you want it to say.
Unbelievably stupid move. Like impressively stupid.
I know
move.
that little what did she put it? Try to pay your taxes first or something like that. And then literally I've seen everything like, it's just
Look,
Oh
I'm
my
sorry. I can't stop myself from saying it at this point. I have lived too long on the internet to not believe that there are a group of 4chaners who have somehow wormed their way into being the Democratic Party's advisory council
just
on
to get
how
the
to interact with this. No, like I'm sorry. This is so many of these missteps have been like the exact wrong, not just like a little bit wrong, the exact wrong thing in such a memeable way that it reminds one of, say, oh, I don't know, does anybody remember when 4chan sparked that whole thing that Justin Bieber had cancer and so everybody had to shave their heads?
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful right there.
I leave this here without comment.
See, precisely that, right?
I'm just saying, like,
What's truly amazing is that while they had like meetings and war gamed this, and not one person was like, you do realize those signs are going to be photoshopped to be like, I like dick in my ear in like 5 minutes, right?
Look, like that's bad enough, but like, I'm sorry, like this, Lara Cox really nails it on the head here. The fact that in those strategy meetings, not a single person was like, hey, if he like, honors other people, maybe we should not be dicks about it.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
At least maybe have a sign for Cancer Kid. Well, okay,
yeah, I was gonna say, right.
Kid.
Booing the Cancer Kid is probably not a good look for the Democrats. I'm just saying.
Shockingly, but here's the problem: that happened today. By the time the election rolls around, everyone will have forgotten about it.
Oh yeah,
and that's the same problem with you're getting them on the record thing, right? Okay, but people then need to go back and check the record.
Yeah,
did this person actually represent me and what I wanted done? And the problem is nobody ever does that. So
yeah, I think that's only really helpful when it comes to say like, now it's 2 years later, we're going to run somebody against them, and you have this horrible record that they voted on that you could then use against them. But ultimately, that's a really kind of narrow use case for that being, the kind of thing. So it's, is it potentially useful? Yes. Is it very useful? No, not from a practical standpoint.
See, the thing is, it's going to have to be something really, really egregious. Otherwise, okay. Hey, remember when the Democrats didn't stand for the cancer kid? First of all, they're going to have done something at least twice as retarded by the time the election rolls around. And so people will be more worried about whatever that is. And second of all, I mean, like, yeah, okay, the Democrats didn't stand for cancer kid, but is that really the thing that we need to be voting on? By the way, the answer is yes, right? If you can't stand for a cancer kid, you don't deserve to get voted for. Deal with it.
Yep. Let me just kind of go through this list, and then we'll go to the video clips, and we can comment on the video clips. Trump touts common sense revolution. Number 4, tariffs explained. A little disturbance. Of course, there was the Al. What's his name?
Al Green.
Al Green, got thrown out.
As a bit of breaking, he has supposedly he's drafting articles of impeachment this morning. So.
Cool. Cool story, bro.
Listen,
let me know how that
especially
goes.
Since Don is with us, I have heard that disrupting a proceeding before the Congress, especially a joint session.
Oh man,
I've heard that leads to thrown in jail for years.
Without charge.
Joe, you could. I think sedition actually is a valid charge against what he did last night.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Number 5, Doge findings were highlighted. I thought that was really funny. That part of the speech. He promised a balanced budget. I believe it when I see it, but I think that's a very good thing to go after. The victims of illegal immigrant violence were spotlighted. I thought that was pretty good. The direct, so Trump, I think, was spot on, like the people that he actually identified up in the gallery, as far as the guests that he brought to talk about, to include the cancer kid. He made a direct appeal to Greenlanders. Here's the thing. Like, this is the one part that I kind of like said, okay, that might be a little bit too much. He says, we're working with everybody involved to try to get it, but we need it really for international world security. And then he kind of pauses and gives that kind of like crooked smile. And he says, and I think we're going to get it one way or the other. And, I'm like, oh, Jesus, don't say that. I mean, talk about something that you can read into. He mentioned the letter to Zelensky, and we're going to talk more about that. New shipbuilding office. We got a clip for that one. Arrest of top terrorist responsible for Abbey Gate. And the Democrats respond. Of course, they were petulant children. They couldn't vote for it. They couldn't stand for anything. And every time they tried to say anything, the Republicans did a very good job of shouting them down with chants of USA, USA, which is a little bit cringy, but it's appropriate, I think.
Let me go ahead and push back on you on the cringiness. For once in 20-ish years, people anywhere are celebrating my country that are not vets or at a veteran parade. I don't care if it's cringy. Embrace the cringe. It is good and good for you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but you got it.
I found it less cringe, just strictly because it was interesting that it could be used as a weapon against the left, and to see that so obviously and viscerally displayed.
I think you guys are right. I think it probably only sends cringy to somebody like me because, being in the military, we think about this kind of stuff a lot more. So we take it a little more for granted when we hear it. But I think regular people need to hear that kind of thing. Like kids need to hear that it's okay to be proud of your country.
Yeah, agreed entirely.
All right, let's jump into these clips, Watcher. Now, I added, I think, 1 or 2, so make sure you're going off the list that's there. I think the first one is still correct. It's the Pierce Morgan one.
Oh God, before this even plays, let me say it's a waste of air.
Yeah, just go ahead and prep your a-hole there.
Yeah.
Pierce Morgan doesn't talk, I don't think. It's just the clip.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke.
Is that a hat or a bandage?
Yeah, what's inside that? Is it? I mean, you could put a bomb in there.
Hold on. No, hold on, guys. I've seen this. There's the face of an evil person growing out of the back of her head, and so she's got a.
Yes,
I've seen this before.
All right, keep playing.
We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important.
I push pause for a second. So this went over very well with the people that I was watching the speech with in my workplace. The whole idea of a meritocracy, and we actually talked about this for a little bit. You know, the fact that America has stopped being a meritocracy in certain aspects is, it's almost shocking to some people when they realize that. But I mean, it should be no surprise to this group.
Well,
it's sort of the entire American ideal is meritocracy, right?
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want to be based upon what you decide to do with your life, as opposed to how many handouts you can get. It's, I guess.
Yeah, no, you're right on the money, Joe.
Can I make a weird observation before we continue? There was something about this speech, maybe not necessarily this part, but there was something about the entirety of this speech when you watch it, as he continuously throws little asides to all these people that he's brought in. I get this feeling a lot, how people describe the old, JFK's Camelot and what have you. It's kind of heartening. I get a feeling that it's not just him anymore. But yeah.
You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
The fact that this is controversial is just shows you how far we've fallen.
I mean, in the very first chapter of the first book of the Bible, which all of Western society is built upon, it says he created them man and woman. Nothing else. Anyway.
I have some breaking news.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
If it's about the SCOTUS thing, let's give it the 24 hours, 48 hours, because I need someone to explain to me the constitutional basis for what they did.
Yeah, same. All right, we'll wait then.
What's
SCOTUS has ruled that Donald Trump must resume foreign aid. That's nowhere within their purview to do.
Yeah.
So, who is the sole executor of government policy? The executive branch. So.
Okay, let's continue on with this video. I think it's almost done.
And once again,
sorry, Scott, that video was done. This is the next one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go to the next one then.
Okay.
again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. 5 times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
Ted Cruz mentioned in a tweet, he said every time Biden came down to speak in front of the joint session, he stood, he clapped, and he showed, he said he may not like the guy who's in the office, but he respected the office. And a win for the American people is a win for the American people, no matter who makes it happen. And so, yeah, this is a harder one for me to swallow. Like, these people are fucking ingrates, and they are unable to properly represent the people that they've been elected to represent. It's fucking disgusting. A little wishy-washy there you can see on this issue, guys. Tell me what you think.
Yeah. Can tell. All right. Well, got the next one queued up.
This is a good one.
Media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
This is a good one.
He just laid it right out on the counter.
I mean, this one was in a tweet that says, "I'd like to report the scene of a murder at the Capitol building." Watch it, you missed one. There's the one right above that one on the show notes about the shipbuilding. If you could play that one. Don, shipbuilding is something that, well, you're not a ship guy. You're an you're an artillery guy. You could appreciate the fact that it's this one.
Yeah, I just saw another one I didn't have, so I was making sure I got both of them.
You could appreciate the need for a little invigoration of our shipbuilding, our defense industrial capability, right?
Yeah.
There's
a lot. I'll let them talk.
Our defense industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding.
Well, the commercial shipbuilding is actually one of the more important parts of that most people don't think about.
And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America, where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon. It will have a huge impact to boost our defense.
Yeah, so I think this is actually one of those kind of critical things that has absolutely deserted American shores, but it's something that we could bring back. Let me get your thoughts on this, guys.
No, I think that's absolutely crucial. I also believe that the appointment of Hung Kao as Deputy Secretary of the Navy was another good step in that direction. I think if he brings in John Conrad and Sal, whatever his last name is, onto the shipbuilding team, it would be pretty fantastic. Guys who really know the commercial shipping business and the shipbuilding business. So.
Yeah, John. Oddly enough, John Conrad was there in D.C. supporting Elbridge Colby in the the confirmation hearings, I guess, was going on today or yesterday. So I'd love to see him get involved. I mean, he's like literally the best source of that kind of information that I see on X. I mean, are there people that know more? Sure, but it's about people who know a lot, but can also communicate with a larger audience and make people understand these complex issues. That's what's so important. All right, let's move on to the next one.
With no end in sight, the United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense, with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah. You would say Pocahontas says yes.
Yeah, she wants more war. Clapping for more war.
2,000
Indeed.
people are being killed every single week. More than that. With no
Hunch Dirty Roofer for $10 says restarting our shipbuilding capacity can and will restart our ability to build artillery stateside. Yeah. No, I that's actually, there's a lot of heavy metal involved in both of those, and that's kind of where I was pulling Don in on that one. They both require a large amount of high grade steel and skillfully machined steel. Don?
So, sort of. I guess is the real answer to that. A lot of the stuff that we do for shipbuilding doesn't translate into almost anything else, which is why it
Right.
is a good political football to get rid of, right? Oh, but we could still make everything else, but we don't deal with giant welds. Like, okay. That doesn't sound that bad, except that, of course, if you have anybody else building any of your defense equipment, you're an idiot, right? This is so true that, like, Ludwig von Mises is over there, like, you're having a foreign country build what, right? And that guy's like the father of anarcho-capitalism, effectively, in the modern era. And so, this is, insofar as we will have manufacturing that we don't have now, yes, it will sort of enable it, but the skills don't translate as much as everybody would like. In fact, truth be told, artillery rounds in particular are basically, and I wish I was making this up, rolling foil around Play-Doh. That is how you make artillery rounds.
Yeah, it's a little more complex than that, but yes, it's not. It is not what you'd call advanced machining.
No. So,
all right, let's see. We got one more, and then this kind of will help us transition to our. No. You've got one more clip there. Yep. It's right there. I'm highlighting it.
Oh, I thought that was what I had up. Oops.
No, you've got the one below it. There you go. That one. And then this will transition us into topic 2.
Received an approved letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Received an
all right. So
can we pause there for just a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a real specific scene in The Walking Dead when you meet Negan in person for the first time, and he gives a speech. Rick, thank me for this. Thank me. You know what just happened? I just slid my dick down your throat, and you thanked me for it. And I feel like that's very relevant to what's going on in politics everywhere right at the moment, and I love it.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Yeah, I mean, yes. This is a statement that Zelensky put out on X. I don't know that it's the same letter that what Trump was reading, but I thought we'd read it here, and I'll just kind of pause at the end of each paragraph, and if you guys got anything to bring up in this paragraph, of course, it's all referring back to that disastrous performance that Zelensky turned in when he embarrassed himself in front of the entire world, by trying to call out the president of the United States and the VP on their home fucking turf.
I would like to read it. It doesn't start with "I acknowledge that I'm a little bitch." It's not sincere.
Fair. That's totally fair.
Well,
I
hold
would
on.
like
I just
to
gotta say, to be totally fair, given the subtext, it's from Zelensky, so basically everything's prefaced with that.
Well, I want to hear him say it. I would like to reiterate Ukraine's commitment to peace. None of us wants an endless war. Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than Ukrainians. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. Gentlemen, you're not buying
The best
it.
way to get a peace that lasts is to bury that guy 6 feet underground.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
for him to step down. And it makes me feel.
No, I didn't say
Yeah.
step down.
Yeah.
I said bury him 6 feet underground.
I know. I'm with you. I'm with you.
No, I
He's.
think maybe he could do some time in some work
I
camps.
I still think he is just a sock puppet, if I'm honest, guys, and that's the reason why he has done this turn very quickly to basically gobble everything that he
Given
can
his
he can
height,
get down.
would
his
anyone notice if he stepped down?
throat.
I mean, given his height, can he?
Can he? That's a good point. We are ready to work as fast to end the war, and the first stages could be the release of prisoners and a truce in the sky, ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, and a truce in the sea immediately. That will come in handy later. If Russia will do the same,
Truce in the sea comes from the fact that just prior, Russia schwacked 2 ships as they entered the port of Odessa, containing allegedly some British military contractors and some British arms. So the death toll from that is about 13 right now, and who knows how much material. So
yeah, we'll cover that. We got a link on that one, so we'll cover that a little more later. If Russia will do the same, then we want to move very fast through all the stages and work with the U.S. to agree to a strong final deal. So I want you to notice something and see if it kind of keeps popping up here. At the end of the first paragraph, I want to work under President Trump's strong leadership. Into the second paragraph. Then we want to move as fast in all stages and work with the U.S. to agree to a strong final deal. So just kind of listen to how that kind of continues to pop up here. We do really value how much America has done to help the Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. And we remember the moment when things changed, when President Trump provided Ukraine with javelins. We are grateful for this. So that is an answer directly to, have you ever said thank you? When JD Vance called him out in the Oval Office. Our meeting in Washington
at the personality thing on that. He still didn't say thank you. He said we are grateful.
We are grateful. Yeah. Yeah. This is all diplomatic ease, right? Like this is a what he really needs is a heartfelt kind of apology and then also an expression of actual thankfulness and gratitude.
That's why I said I'm a little bitch would be a good start.
Would be a good start. Our meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It is regretful that it happened this way. It is time to he never really says I'm sorry here, but he says he's regretful. And he doesn't say it's his fault. It was time to make things right. It is time to make things right, and we would like future cooperation and communication to be constructive. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it in any time and in any convenient format. We see this agreement as a step towards greater security and solid security guarantees, and I truly hope it will work effectively. Gentlemen, call me skeptical.
Zelensky didn't write this.
Yeah.
Oh no, he didn't write it. This is Diplo speak.
There's no way
this
he
is.
did. But the woman who sat behind him, Oksana, whatever her name is, the U.S. ambassador, or the Ukrainian ambassador,
the one that was
who
face
sat there
palming,
with her face buried in her hands, probably wrote it. But,
because Stan is not here, let me just say, Victoria Newland hired someone to write it for him.
Oh, well done. Well, Stan, you are well represented by Don.
I just want to share this meme.
All
right. I apologize. I'm sorry for that. I shouldn't have done that. All right. So let's move on. Oh shit. Let's see. All right. So so following the whole thing, there's been a lot of statements in the out there, but evidently some people have got the boo-boo face over this whole thing, and there are a lot of people in the UK who are unhappy with some of the things maybe JD Vance says. Britain outraged over Vance some random country comments. This is one of those kind of things, Joe, if the shoe fits, kind of situation, right? Like they obviously felt like it belonged to them. So that's the reason why they're, and then he comes out and says, of course didn't mean the UK. They've been with us all the way through the last 20 years. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has sparked a row amongst allies after commenting about a potential European UK-led peacekeeping force. His initial words came from a Fox News interview Tuesday where he made the case that only security guarantees from America would come in the form of Trump's mineral deals, which was stalled in the wake of Zelensky's Friday Oval Office blow-up. Vance said, the president knows that if you want real U.S. security guarantees, if you want to actually ensure that Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine, the very best security guarantee is to get America's upside in the future of Ukraine. So this is very interesting, and this is something that we've talked about here on the channel. We have no interest in Ukraine. Even when we want to have interest in Ukraine, we really have no interest in Ukraine. What Donald Trump is doing is actually providing a U.S. interest in the peace of Ukraine, right? So not securing it with our military might, but securing it with actual interests and relationships that make a difference in the long term, right? And this is critical. This is the reason why we're interested in the Middle East, right? We're interested because of the energy trade, because we have economic interests in these countries, and this would give us a similar economic interest in Ukraine. So, in some ways, I don't like it because I don't want to be involved there, but I understand where it's coming from, and it's actually a viable, way forward. Anyway, he goes on to say that's way better security guarantees than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years, he said.
What he means here is someone like Estonia who talks a big game and talks about how they're going to resist them, and it's there. Or a place like Latvia or Lithuania who will say, oh, but we contributed troops to Afghanistan. Yeah, you contributed 3 guys who never left the command post at Bagram, right? He's talking about nations who fought an actual war. That's not the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom was there with us step by step the whole way. He's talking about all these other small countries who are talking about getting involved who have not fought a war since World War II.
So I got visited by the Danes once in Afghanistan. I was pretty out in the middle of nowhere at the time, and they rolled up and were like, "Hey, so we are about to start this this mission that we have just dreamed up out of nowhere. Where basically we're gonna roll by an Afghani city and just shoot the hell out of it and then leave. But we forgot water. Can we have some water, please?"
That's what he's talking about right there.
I'm just guessing that's not going to go well if you have actual wars going on. Not we're just hanging out under the U.S. military shooting stuff at random.
Yeah, in fairness, I got the DANCON medal. What is it? You do the road march with Danish troops in overseas or whatever, and you can get this medal. It's pretty easy to get, but it's like what 40-kilometer road march, so it's nothing. It's like fucking. Anyway, that's my experience with the Danish army.
And by the way, don't get me wrong, all of those guys were cool. But also, you should probably bring water to war.
You think? I don't know. Might be important.
Well, they're Danes, as Stevie J points out, who are Vikings. They were used to taking water from someone else, so they were just living out their heritage.
Yeah, they're used to traveling on it, so it's not part of their logistics chain.
So anyway, he's being accused by top British officials and UK media of disrespecting British forces who closely assisted the US regime change. Yeah, who were fucking, let's be honest, if anybody was with us step hand in glove for over the past 20 years during the GWAT, it was fucking Britain. They were in Afghanistan, they were in Iraq, they actually fought. I mean, they were down in Helmand with the Marines. Doing a lot of stuff. So to think that the UK is who he's talking about is actually fucking batshit crazy.
Well, yeah, it's another example of one of those foreign allies, quote unquote, that are looking for any opportunity they can to try and drive wedges into local politics. That's all this is.
Oh yeah, 100%. Let's see. The New York Times highlighted the growing outrage amongst British political leaders in the following. It says, Mr. Vance later insisted that his comments in an interview with Sean Hannity did not refer to the British or France, though he did not name any alternative countries. Few in Britain were buying it, even to the right. J.D. Vance is wrong, right. But see, these people, so this is even Nigel Farage is falling for it, right? I mean, people who are generally like on our side of the issues, are basically having to then defend themselves and basically, distance themselves from J.D. Vance.
I think a fair turnabout on this, if they're going to act like little bitches about it, is turn around and say, okay, UK, let's look at your economy right now. You're saying that you guys, just you, all by yourselves, you're ready to fund and staff the peacekeeping effort. You're going to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm going to challenge his statement here that exactly the same contribution. I can look at the numbers of dead and wounded and say they didn't exactly make the same contribution. So,
then
one of them was out there publishing it. And don't get me wrong, like, thank you, 1,300 dead British guys is not nothing, but also, look, guys, you were a support element. And I don't mean that as a pejorative. You just have a very tiny military compared to the United States. You can't be more than a support element. That's just how it is.
Well, you see, the U.S. is a big country, and
the UK is a little country,
very small country.
Now that's funny.
So Vance responded to the controversy on X by saying, but let's be direct. There are many countries who are volunteering privately or publicly to support who have neither battlefield experience nor the military equipment to do anything meaningful. And that is
Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Albania. Although the Albanians have fought. So
no, look, I'm sorry. It has to be said, and Joe, I think you'd back me up on this. If we're looking at the ledger of what you're going to contribute to NATO in the event of a Russian attack, and your country's chief military export is called light infantry, you should probably keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah.
Pretty unironically.
Yeah. Although I don't think any formations in the Baltics would be called light infantry. They're probably all mechanized because they follow the old Soviet model. But yes.
And this is actually interesting. So this is a clip where they're showing his clip here from Fox News, right? But look at you talking about like people who are getting kind of caught up in this and getting suckered into it, right? And then the very same Sarah Adams comes in and says, "Come on, French special forces have taken out more senior Al-Qaeda terrorists in Africa than the entire U.S. military, not to mention both countries fighting in Afghanistan." So she falls for the fact that, assuming that he's talking about the UK and France, right?
Okay.
I mean,
so first and foremost, no one has any idea whether or not that statement is true.
Right.
All right. And I say that because the French publicize every freaking kill, all of them. and the American Special Forces don't.
Yeah. We don't really kind of post heads on spikes and hang them outside of our fobs and things like that. Let's see. Let me catch up a couple.
And that's
of
also a good thing about the Brits is they schwack people every day, but they know to schwack people and shut your mouth.
Exactly.
So.
All right, let me catch up here. Okay, I've got that one. Let's see. Peter's helicopter tours for $2. Think of the endless crimes each of those signs could have professed through memes.
Could have. Will.
It's important to keep the public reminded.
What's the saying? Everybody got Photoshop. Go make a bag.
I know, right? You guys all have access to this. So, let's see. Random PNW guy 84 for $2 says shipbuilding will require a massive investment in the trades, from high school classes on welding to guidance counselors pushing it instead of college. Shipbuilding is not easy as most. No, it's not easy, and that's the reason why we've got to do it now.
Yeah.
This comes into some of the things where if I think Trump is going to go after some of this government money for college. And in doing so, you're going to have a lot of people who thought they're going to have the ability to go to college who won't go to college. And what will they do? Well, if we also then reinvigorate the trades, welding, things like this, machinists, things like that. People will actually start making things that matter, and B, they'll probably make some pretty fucking good money doing it.
Well, let's talk about that real quick, Scott, because I did see something in that category this week that I found very heartening, although I'm not 100% sure that it's true, or even if it is true that it will pass. But I saw that people on the Trump team had drafted legislation to raise the rate of taxation on endowments from 3% to 28% or something like that. Like an absolutely ridiculous amount. Just
important to note, this endowment money does not generally exist in the investment pool like the commodities and things like that. It generally exists in buying bonds and things like this. It just sits there. It doesn't really do much. It's about the most dead money in America. People joke and say, "Oh, it's not a college with an endowment." No, it's a hedge fund that's attached to a college. They don't even run them like hedge funds because hedge funds generally make a lot of money. These things just kind of pile on, basically inflation level interest every year. But yeah, that could be a huge turnaround if they were to start doing that, because that would invigorate that money to become much more active in order to keep up with those tax rates.
Well, and I haven't heard anybody say it yet, but honestly, I would like to see it, which is everybody's talked a good talk about how there's a forgotten middleman in America who's in a tough place right now. I would love to see an actual, concerted, open effort to say, hi, we're reaching out and we'd like to find ways to make you employed.
Well, yeah, and it goes beyond that. And the people who actually have a job, that we need to figure out a way to make people asset holders, more than just somebody who owns a home, someone that has saving,
Agreed.
Has actual assets to consider for future. All right, let me continue on with super chats. Peter Shays helicopters for $5 says circa 2010, 11 Camp Phoenix, Afghanistan. The Belgians may or may not have had their ceremonial cannon appropriated by an infantry unit from the Northeast. I'd never do something like that. Just what I heard. Yeah, I feel you there, brother.
Hey, you got an appointment with CID at 10. So
hey, look, just remember, gear adrift is a gift.
Right. And by the way, Brownco 6 had it right here. Hit the like button over on either platform, YouTube or Rumble, because that's a help. And let's see, is it just the two? I think it's just the two. All right. Lance Corporal Veteran for $2. There's a movie, Dan's railroaded a captain following SOP.
He redid that in the next one and made it make more sense.
Okay, so is this okay? Gotcha. Lance Corporal Veteran for $5. Who heard of the Danish officer who was railroaded for following combat SOP? I all because civilians were killed during a firefight. I have not heard of that.
I haven't either, but that doesn't surprise me. It's a very European thing to do.
Yeah. And
by the way,
we're doing
Tahir
it too.
Square would like a word, right?
Yeah.
And what was the other? Haditha. There's a couple places where SOP was followed, but we crucified the people involved for for various reasons. Mostly because no one from the U.S. or U.K. arrived to investigate these incidents for over 24 hours. And the opposition had a chance to drag off all the bodies laden with weapons and ammo.
I'll toss one more out there, Joe. I think that another aggravating factor to all this is that, as we are now finding out, the JAG Corps was secretly captured by communists who hated us and literally took every opportunity they could to try and destroy us from within.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that JAG officer abbreviated as JAG-off, and there's a lot to be said for that.
I don't want to bring this up any further than to vaguely reference it, and if you know, you know. But there's some interesting evidence about actions of JAG officers, not at the highest level, but at lower levels.
Oh yes, we did discuss this. Yes.
Anyway, so let's move on. It's rich that they are complaining about what we say that their contributions are going to be, because the EU spends more money on Russian energy than Ukraine aid last year. In this report, a new report reveals the anti-Russia, pro-Ukraine EU spent more money on Russian oil and gas in 2024 than they did on military aid. Guys, I seem to remember a certain President Trump, 45. Saying something about this, about the Germans being basically in the pocket of the Russians. Sounds familiar.
It does. It's almost like also blowing up the other Nord Stream pipeline made them even more dependent upon Russia.
Exactly right. According to the report by the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, the EU spent approximately $23 billion on Russian fossil fuels versus $19.6 billion on military and financial aid to Ukraine. Meanwhile, China purchased at least $82 billion of Russian energy. India spent $51 billion, and Turkey spent $36 billion. In total, Russia raked in $254 billion in energy exports last year. Since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, Europe has made significant progress in terms of energy independence. Imports of Russian oil and gas have generally decreased substantially, with gas imports dropping from 45% in 2021 to 18% in 2024. Yeah, it's because we blew up their pipeline. Right. However, a quarter of Russian fossil fuels export revenue still comes from Europe. The member nation spent 7 billion euros on Russian natural gas in the third year of the Ukraine war, an increase of 9% over 2023, which was the first year of the war. The second year of the war. Due to insufficient sanctions and loopholes, Russia has earned over 825 billion euros from fossil fuel exports since the start of the invasion of Ukraine. Guys, it doesn't get much richer than this when basically you can literally prove that Europe is funding Russia's war effort.
And it's not just Europe. If you subscribe to the OFAC updates, Office of Financial Asset Control, it's a Treasury page where they talk about sanctions and waivers. And every single day they'll send you an email on the waivers that we have issued to ourselves to get around our own sanctions. Yeah. And at least once a week, we issue a waiver to someone in America so that they can buy Russian oil. So we are also supporting Russian oil industry every day. Sanctions are just virtue signaling.
Yeah, 100%. And especially when it comes to countries that sell things like oil and gas, which are not easily discernible, commodities. I mean, nobody cares. It makes you wonder how much all the sanctions worked on Iraq all those years.
Oh, I'm sure they were great.
Yeah. That's the reason why we went back to war there a second time. BRICS news over on X brings us this data point from Italy. Just in, the Italian Prime Minister Meloni rejects offers from France and UK to send troops to Ukraine. You can go, just not with my soldiers.
Yeah,
That's pretty based, Joe. She's clearly looking at you.
Clearly, she asked me what to say beforehand. I gave her this little tidbit.
Yeah, there you go.
Well done.
Right. But I thought that was perfect. She has constantly thumbed her nose at the establishment in Europe, and she just continued to do the right thing.
Pinochet's helicopter tours for $5. 2010 to 11. Scott Brown at the time was a senator and Army JAG officer. He deployed for a month with the aforementioned Northeast Infantry Unit. Also he could wear the CIB. He didn't earn or participate. How do you get, if you're a JAG officer, how do you get a CIB when you're not?
Yeah, you have to be serving in an infantry unit.
You have to, no, you're not just serving in an infantry unit. You have to be an infantry officer or an infantry coded position, 18 series or 11 series, serving in an infantry position. So, like, for instance, I was an infantry officer, but I became a PAO. But if I went to combat, I couldn't get a CIB for that combat because it's not infantry combat.
So
and
that's
I'm
the
not
benefit to
serving
being a Marine. All Marine are riflemen, so everyone gets a CAB for being in combat.
Maybe he crossed.
I would say that a rifleman and infantryman aren't the same thing.
That's true.
There's a lot of latrine digging that goes into being an infantryman.
Let me tell you, though, that the bane of being in the military police's existence is training supplemental security forces at every little base and fob around there and trying to get cooks and clerks to learn.
Cooks, right?
The bayonet goes on the pointy end, right?
Oh, man.
Anywho.
All right. Let's move on to the next one here. What do we got? Yes, this is another goodie. This is the one that you were telling. Nope. Next one down under that Maloney one is the one that Joe shared with us.
I'm surprised, though, based on Maloney and Elon's interactions, she hasn't squeezed out a baby Elon yet.
Maybe she has. We just don't know about it. Maybe there's a Maloney Elon clone running around that came out of some Italian.
Literally every woman that Elon looks at has a baby by him. So
yeah, well, we should check back in December.
Yeah, right. All right, what are we talking about here?
While the EU and UK leaders were heading into this meeting, a ship with British mercenaries and weapon was sunk in Odessa by Russia. You can't be more clear signal about what's about to happen. A ship with military cargo and British mercenaries and armed forces of Ukraine was hit in Odessa with the coordination of the pro-Russian Nikolaev underground Sergei Lebedev of RAI Novosti. Odessa arrival in cargo ship with military cargo, and the British-Ukrainian publication write about 2 dead. This is not so. They have definitely found 13, but the search continues, and not everyone will reach the hospital. As Lebedev later clarified, the ship was carrying unmanned boats, most likely from the UK. Part of the BEC that's the unmanned boats, was supposed to be located directly in Odessa. So it was being prepared for an attack on Crimea. So, a little resupply going down in Odessa by some British mercs in coordination with the Ukrainian military. And, it didn't go well for the mercs.
Yeah, I don't really know that there were actual mercenaries. I think it was probably a British contractor crew on the ship. But there were 2 different ships actually hit. And it was this ship and then a tanker that was delivering fuel under a contract for the UAF, and the Russians hit it. Interestingly, after this strike, the Russians have continued to pound Odessa for the last 18 hours or so. So who knows what's actually going on there?
I'm just kind of looking. I guess there's a Daily Mail article on this one. Yeah, here we go. So let me share this. Putin unleashes hypersonic missile blitz to sink ship carrying UK weapons for Ukraine. Russian hypersonic missile. So I guess they're saying it's a Skander M ballistic missile. Hit the Panama flagged container ship called MSC 11F in Odessa. Details of the incident on Saturday evening remained light, but the governor of Odessa region confirmed the missile had struck the port, damaging infrastructure and a civilian vessel carrying a Panama flag. So it sounds like it was just in a port. So it wasn't like out at sea. It's interesting. And it gives some more details here, but it's pretty much everything we already talked about. Yeah, so this, this is more of Russia showing what it's going to stand for, and what it won't stand for.
Oh,
yeah, they're really actually ending the new Ho Chi Minh Trail, right? That's what they're letting everyone do.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff had been coming up from the Black Sea, kind of hugging the coast of Romania, and then just kind of coming right into Odessa that way.
Yeah.
So the next
by the
one
way,
here,
I upset the autists in the chat by saying CAB. It's CAR in the Marine Corps. It's Combat Action Ribbon, not Combat Action Badge. Calm down, y'all. Sometimes it's a live show. Sometimes I say the wrong words.
Yeah, the cab is that thing that is the bayonet, or that's the knife and the grenade award that nobody who has ever won it has either used a knife or a grenade in combat. There is some irony to that. I think you could only get it without, it should be like the bayonet and grenade assault badge is what it should be. I mean, that would be a badge worth having, Joe. I mean, oh yeah, I got a COIB. Oh, but did you get the bayonet and grenade assault?
And how have we let the Brits be the last people to do a true bayonet charge? Why is that?
I think what our last bayonet charge was in Korea, was it?
Yeah. I mean, we've used bayonets for defense, and guys in Fallujah used them for close-in defense, but not an actual bayonet charge.
Yeah, I think it was Afghanistan. The Brits did a bayonet charge, didn't they?
No, it's Basra.
Oh, was it Basra?
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the downside of having good logistics, right? There's no quote unquote reason to have a bayonet charge if you always have bullets.
That's fair.
That's true.
All right, moving on to the next one here. We've got Poland announces it's preparing a new defense package that will add another $7.7 billion for Polish armed forces. It's likely this will push Poland's military spending in 2026 to well over 5% of GDP, by far the highest in NATO. So, I mean, and this basically brings them in line with the targets that Trump has identified for military spending of NATO partners or NATO allies. Guys, I mean, let's be honest. I tweeted about this, and I basically said that Poland is the only country in NATO that really takes their own self-defense seriously, from the standpoint of, if they had to go it alone and defend themselves, they could actually do it.
Yes.
For a while.
Exactly. I mean, let's be honest. They would never have to go it alone. I'm just saying that if, they would be able to provide their share of the fight. And let's be honest, when you compare them to, say, Germany,
oh man,
I mean, it's not even a fucking comparison.
I think
I don't know,
man.
The
only country in Europe that's taking defense seriously enough, and is really gearing up and really staffing up. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, did you guys? I wasn't here. Did you guys talk about Germany closing the skies over Ukraine? Because apparently they're super duper serious about military stuff now.
I'm super serial. All right.
I think I saw
Yeah,
somebody
it's,
do a breakdown the other day that Germany has all of like 56 combat aircraft.
Of which,
Yep.
how many are airworthy?
5.6.
It's like
Yeah,
United Kingdom with 200 main battle tanks, of which 23 or so are actually
Functional.
able to be driven.
You know what that means, by the way, is that the British military is now the biggest white trash entity on planet Earth. They have more vehicles that are busted and broke down
They're up on
than
blocks.
they do functional.
Got a bunch of tanks up on blocks out in front of your house. There looks like a yard sale, Britton. What's going on?
Exactly.
I'm okay. All right. Yeah. So anyway,
I got to comment on two things in the chat real quick. One, sir, on your right, Scott, I've been taking a tiny sip every time I say, let's be honest, and I'm currently blitzed. That will happen quick. That, and when he also says, all right.
Oh, man. You want to live through one of these shows?
I know, right?
But the next, and I've got mine that I say even worse. So it's not just Scott; it's all of us.
We
Unfortunately,
all do
Poland
it.
got clapped in World War II. I want to talk about this. The Polish officers made the mistake of assuming that the Soviets had honor, and when they surrendered to them outside of the Katyn forest, they thought they would be taken to POW camps and treated the way that they were supposed to in accordance with international law. Instead, they were marched into the forest and murdered to a man. I mean, every one of them was killed. Never, ever assume that your enemy has the honor that you do.
Yeah.
Valuable lesson.
The only people on planet Earth who generally get to make that assumption are people fighting the United States. That's
correct. Yeah.
But even then, from time to time.
Well, like I said, generally.
Yeah, generally. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. This last link I've got here, pretty interesting. Putin's number one ally, Putin's number one ally says Putin regretted invading Ukraine. Putin regretted the war because it turned into a full-scale conflict, into a war he did not anticipate. When he realized the high number of casualties, Putin sought negotiations to halt the conflict to reach an agreement. But then that's when the Western allies decided they could put Putin over a barrel and said no. That's why Boris Johnson shut it all down. This is for the first time any high-ranking official close to Putin has made such a claim, let alone the closest ally and president of Belarus. This is one of the many revelations in his explosive. So let's play this clip here.
President Putin ever regretted the decision to invade? And some might see it like he had no choice with NATO's expansion, but was that really the right decision? And did you think it was the right decision?
Look, there is always a choice. Putin had choices too. Perhaps there were alternatives available to him. The issue isn't solely about NATO's eastward expansion, but rather the threats that emerged in Ukraine. It's one of the significant reasons behind what transpired. Putin didn't consider the possibility of such a war occurring. If he had thought that would be the outcome, he wouldn't have engaged in negotiations. When he realized the high number of casualties, Putin immediately sought negotiations to halt the conflict, to reach an agreement concerning NATO, demilitarization, denazification. As he said, ensuring that Russians would not be harmed, so that the Russian language would not be suppressed in Ukraine. This was part of the agenda. He wanted to negotiate once he realized how things had escalated. It seems he likely only regretted the situation because it turned into such a full-scale conflict, into a war that he probably did not anticipate.
Let me say something here that's going to upset some people. This is Mario Nawal's first interview. And it's an interview with the man who doesn't give interviews, Lukashenko, who is giving out Vladimir Putin's talking points. That should tell you everything you need to know about Mario. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, but I'm less concerned about Mario and more concerned about the fact that when Lukashenko says something like this, Putin doesn't allow Lukashenko to talk about Putin unless Putin tells him to talk about Putin.
Yes.
And so this is exactly what Putin wants. And if Putin wants the world to think that he regrets going into, then he may not be willing to say that, and I doubt he would ever say that. But this is him allowing a kind of a subordinate, a proxy, to be able to speak for him and say that. That's pretty significant, I think. And
it's even more significant than that, because not only is he a proxy, where's Lukashenko's son, as Stan likes to point out? Lukashenko's son is studying in Moscow. This is something that used to be done way back in the Middle Ages, exchanging of hostages, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to keep a vassal under control, you took his son under your wing and you brought him to your capital and you kind of kept him as a prisoner. So Lukashenko is not going to say or do anything that Putin doesn't want said or done, which is the point Scott was making.
Yeah.
So,
in the words of the famous Joe Dolio, isn't that what I just said?
Yes, that's what you just said.
Yes, but you wanted to expand on it in your own way because you agreed with me, but had a little different take. I totally understand.
I agree with you so completely, Scott.
Anyway, all right. Again, he's dropping that interview. I think it dropped yesterday, so definitely check that out. There will probably be some other interesting tidbits in there, but that was the one that I saw that kind of interests me. Joe, I found an interesting clip just kind of going through my timeline here. It is completely off topic, but I think it's of interest to both you and I, and probably to the future conflict chat. This is X account War Noir. Sudan, this is in Sudan. New video shows a mercenary group, the Desert Wolves, from Colombia, operating under the Rapid Support Forces in Al-Fashir. The group is seemingly using a 120 millimeter M75 mortar with a M62 P10 HE mortars produced in Serbia. Colombian mercs, you're getting around, and I wonder if these are some of the same Colombian mercs that fought for Saudi Arabia and UAE in Yemen.
Given the one place where I've actually ran into Colombian private military contractors, that's entirely possible. But yeah, and there's the photo right there. That would be the place.
So it says here, secret UAE desert force set up by Blackwater founder. 800-man strong mercenary army is aimed at UAE's external and internal foes. What does it say?
I was trying to go around that issue, and then there's the photo right there.
Yeah, a plane carries dozens of Colombian men touching down in a glittering seaside capital. Yeah, so these are mostly Colombians. So here's the thing. Colombia has generated a lot of experienced soldiers.
If I recall correctly, some Colombians were fighting on the Ukrainian side as well.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Definitely something. Lobos del Desertos, all right, in Sudan. Here's another article about them. So this is literally an entire, we could do an entire segment here on the show just about this topic alone. So maybe we'll do that. We'll look into that one. All right, gentlemen. I found a X post from Charlie Kirk that I thought I would share because, we talked about 48-hour rule, but evidently it is official. Breaking: Supreme Court has ruled that President Trump must unfreeze $1.9 billion in foreign aid, USA payments. Unbelievable. Samuel Alito blasts the majority with Thomas, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh joining the dissent. Does a single district court judge in the dissent, does a single district court judge who likely lacks jurisdiction have the unchecked power to compel the government of the United States to pay out and probably lose forever $2 billion of taxpayer money? The answer to the question should be an emphatic no, but a majority of this court apparently thinks otherwise. I am stunned.
They're 100% right. There's no reason why a single district judge can upend the entire federal government. It should never happen.
A lot of buyer's remorse
right
on Amy Coney Barrett right here.
So that right there, Amy Coney Barrett. This is what happens, Mr. We ended all the DEI hiring, blah blah blah. This is what happens when you replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg with a whammon, because it's a whammon. You got what you freaking deserved. You should have put somebody in there who didn't suck, who didn't think that if the government did it, it was a good idea, who wasn't just a DEI hire that the right finds acceptable. You never should have put her there. You should have got rid of her. You should have shit canned her from the beginning. And a lot of people told you so. You deserve this moment.
I mean, the only argument I've seen is that, she's better than fucking Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Okay, but that's not saying much.
You could have literally put a pile of dog waste in that seat, and it would have been better than Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was dead for the last 2 years of her life. Come on.
Right.
During
which time she was generally better than Ruth Bader Ginsburg prior to that.
All right. Guys, let's go around the horn. Joe, thoughts for the week?
It's strange times, y'all. Let's see if Donald Trump's speech drives the left over the edge. Every day it seems like he does something that tweaks their nose a little bit more, and we will see what's happening. But on that note, if you have not already done an area study, I have good news. Mike Shelby's going to be doing another area study class coming up, and we'll have more info on that on Friday. Our friends at Forward Observer, doing a little partnership with them and helping promote it. But you can learn to do an area study with him and guide you through his book. So watch for more updates on that coming out.
Don?
Get to classes. For a while, things are going to be good. Economy will be somewhat better, as I'm sure generally everybody is noticing. I noticed the price of gas for the first time in like 3 years because I've been actively avoiding it, and it's down, which makes me happy. But, while things are good is not the time to forget that things can be bad. That is the time to invest in things going bad. So do that now because you have spare anything.
That's a really good point. It's an insurance policy for when times are bad, not when times are good. And when times are good is the best time to invest in insurance. Watcher?
Just basically what Don said, only from the hey. Things are probably going to be decent for the next 4 years, but after that, wouldn't it be great if you took your family's food security into your own hands?
Yeah,
I'll just dangle that out there, and we'll see you folks Friday, and look forward to it.
So let's see. Peanut State's helicopters for $2 says the alternative to ACB was a Cuban American who escaped communism. Talk about dropping the ball. Yeah. I mean, that guy at least has some motivation to stay away from this Marxist thought. Here's my prediction. I'm going to leave you with a video that emphasizes what I think we're going to see eventually. Share my screen. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
Together a delegation.
Let's see. Here we go.
There's a group of Albertans that are working together right now to put together a delegation to go to Washington to talk to the Trump administration about Alberta petitioning for U.S. statehood. It's quite evident that we're being governed by idiots in Ottawa who don't understand that we can't afford a trade war with our largest trading partner. And rather than simply apologizing to President Trump for not meeting our NATO commitments and not adequately securing our border, apparently the Trudeau government has decided to declare a trade war and run up trillions of dollars in costs like they did during COVID on a made-up emergency. So there's a number of us in Alberta that have had enough and want to go speak with the Trump administration about the benefits of Alberta joining the United States. There's statehood. Well, there's a group
Joe, what do you know about this? You got any finger
I
on the
will not
pulse?
comment on the Grand Duchy of Montana and Alberta at this time.
Well, and let's be honest, Manitoba and Saskatchewan would probably be all right too.
They get rolled right into Alberta. They just have to accept that.
Well, I think essentially BC, Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. That's one state, if you ask me. Right? That's maybe southern Alaska. You just call it that. Yeah, I think.
I cannot comment on ongoing negotiations at this time.
I would like to quit trying to pick up strays.
Well, and there's always Greenland. Trump's. But I get the feeling that it's kind of like the scene from Mean Girls. Stop saying fetch. It's never going to happen. Stop saying Greenland. It's never going to happen. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like there is some movement for the U.S. to acquire strategic resources outside of the continental United States, and I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see that happen in the next couple of years.
Look, man, I got to go to the Duke's office today. I'm not going to rock the boat.
Amen, brother. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for being here. Chat, you guys are awesome. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe to the channels either on Rumble or YouTube. Hit the bell for notification. Let folks know that you are getting some good stuff over here at the Council on Future Conflicts. And as always, stay safe.